Thank you, sir, for such encouraging words. I am happy to share that today we have with us Sri Bimal Jain, who is a member of Indirect Tax Committee at the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, FICCI, and the Associate Chambers of Commerce and Industry of India, ASSOCHAM. Sri Bimal Jain has wide experience in working with various renowned companies and has vast experience in the matters of taxation and indirect tax policy. He has also been associated with various advisory committees on matters related to indirect taxation. Now I invite Sri Bimal Jain.
Let me first compliment, sir, DG Taxpayer Services, Delhi Zone and Calcutta Zone for doing such a wonderful, hand-holding to the taxpayer. And the topic which is being picked up by DGTS is really eye-catchy. Rightly said by our Additional Director General DGTS today that RCM topic is not being touched upon, and he has picked up this topic for hand-holding to the taxpayer and the tax officer both together for the learning sake. And that is realistically Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. And we all are trying to make GST good and simple tax. As a background, we all know that GST got started from July 1, 2017, started with 68 lakh registered person and having around 90,000 crore per month on an average collection. But GST is growing faster. Our economy, fifth largest economy, on the verge of fourth largest economy. Even GST has seen the transformation. From 68 lakh registered person, we have gone to 1.4 crore registered person as on date. Collection has increased from 90,000 crore to 1.65 lakh crore rupees per month on an average. So GST is really growing and it is settling down. Initially, we have seen the teething problem, but definitely with these kind of webinar, we are providing handholding, and from trade body, we are thankful to DGTS for taking up important topic for the understanding of taxpayer and of course tax officer both together. When I look at RCM topic, RCM is very, very interesting topic and quite obvious. GST, if you look at it, is basically and generally on accrual basis and forward charge method on supplier of goods or services or both, unless otherwise specified for reverse charge method. So reverse charge, quite understandable that recipient of goods or services need to discharge the GST liability. Of course, for specified goods, 4/2017 CGST notification, and for services 13/2017 services notification. This is quite known to all of us together. Another important aspect, there's a misconception in the trade. I'm sure speaker going to touch base everything. I'm just giving little flavor to the subject matter. Section 9, subsection 4. Initially, when GST got started, if you are a registered person procuring taxable goods or services from unregistered person, reverse charge applicable, and there was threshold 5,000 rupees exemption was there. But this is completely done away with from 13th of October 2017. It is now applicable only for the real estate developer from 1st April 2019. Having said that, I'm going to touch base 4 or 5 important pointers which trade would be looking at. But before I touch base the issues for which I will look forward the presentation by none other than Mr. Venkateswaran. He's a learned guy and I've seen his presentation. I'm sure he on the topic at length. The first misconception applicable, and I've seen the misconception when to pay GST and the reverse charge method. What I've seen in the trade that whenever they are making payment, recipient is making payment, they are assuming that is the time period they are supposed to discharge the GST liability. No, completely no. And we are not complying properly. If I look at section 12, subsection 3 of CGST Act for reverse charge on specified goods, if I look at 13 subsection 3 for specified services under reverse charge, just to draw your attention, let's say you're getting advocate invoice on 1st January 2019, and maybe advocate invoice is being paid today. Do you think reverse charge is applicable now or it has arisen? If you go back to section 13, subsection 3, it is arise a long time back. And what is the POT, time of supply, as per section 13, subsection 3 of CGST Act? Earliest of to date. Date of payment, which is today, but date following the end of 60 days would be the POT. So meaning thereby 1st March 2019 was the POT, which we have not complied with. So what happened? Reverse charge applicable. Now we will end up paying along with interest, and interest rate would be 18% per annum. So we have to be careful about. So this topic, which has been picked up by DGTS, is really a good topic where we all are looking for the clarity. Of course, misconception one, which I've communicated, but I'm damn sure the learned speaker, Mr. B. Venkateswaran, will touch base number of other points. I'm giving 3-4 important pointers from the trade perspective, and will look forward from the speaker side if he can touch base those points in its presentation. The first point, if unregistered supplier supplying specified goods or specified services under reverse charge method for preceding financial year, let's say 17-18, in 19-20. And what is the GST liability under reverse charge method from unregistered supplier? Not really. Whenever we are procuring from unregistered supplier, recipients supposed to generate the self invoice. And section 31, subsection 3, clause F, which is today. So, and we need clarity. What happens in all such cases whenever procured from unregistered supplier, specified goods or specified services subject to reverse charge method preceding to the previous financial year, 17, 18, 19, 19, 20, the first one. Second, we have seen in the trade this is by the supplier, and recipient has paid the amount to the supplier. Supplier has deposited also, but it is
Vimalji, excuse me, Vimalji.
4 years back,
Your
5
voice is breaking
back.
sometimes.
Now we are catch holding that this. Okay. Am I audible now, Vivek sir?
You are audible now, but your voice is breaking. That is coming in by many people in the chat box. Let's see.
I'm very sorry, sir. I'm sitting at a distant place,
okay.
and their internet connection.
You continue, but take care. Okay,
I sincerely regret to do.
Okay. You
Okay,
take
okay.
care. Okay. Continue.
So, sorry to all the participants if my voice is breaking up at distance place. Hope I'm audible at the moment to all of you.
Yes, at the moment.
Vivekji, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. So what happened in all such cases? It was wrongly charged under forward charge method by the supplier. Otherwise, it was subject to RCM. Now, what to be done in all such cases? GST got deposited with the government exchequer by a supplier, which should have been paid under RCM by the recipient, but litigation has started. It's a transaction wrongly charged. Maybe what is the way forward? I will look forward from the learned speaker to deliberate on this point as well. Third important point, which is also again matter of concern for industry today, that let's say I'm getting certain, but my outward I have discharged full GST liability in cash. So ultimately, I have paid full liability on my outward supply in cash because there is no credit. But inward was subject to having my outward tax liability. But he did not pay the tax. Oh, Very poor connections. Can I just change my connection if you are kindly allow me? Vivek sir?
Yes, you may change connection.
So I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. Setting. Just allow me 1 minute. 30 second more. 30-second more. Sir, Vivek sir, am I audible?
Now you are audible. You can
There's
keep. Okay, okay.
there was some problem with the network. Maybe 1 or 2 minutes more because I do not want to take much time for the speaker to speak about. But my only point was inward supply subject to RCM, I did not pay. But on outward, I'm paying full tax in cash. So to what extent this implication will come up? Yes, we do understand. And cotton is one of the important issue which is going on. But ultimately, outward tax, Vivek sir, some voice issue is going on. Maybe you can start with the
No,
presentation.
no, voice is clear. Means if you
I
have.
don't know.
Ha, ha,
Okay.
ha.
Let me take one more point for the policy decision, which I'm passing on to Sri Amizi, Additional Director General for DGTS policy issue. So there are dubious sector we have seen in GST, fake registration. And like metal scrap is one of the sector where we have seen a lot of supplier are found to be non-existent, or their registration got cancelled for their non-compliances, or they have taken cancellation with retrospective date. Like this metal scrap industry is one of the industry wherein a lot of ITC related dispute. It's a policy decision, not the matter of today's presentation, but my submission to Amish sir, that if such sector can be identified and put subject to RCM, so ultimately recipient going to pay the liability, then all such dispute which is coming from supplier side because of their non-compliances, dubious, fake, can be sorted out. It is good for the department as well, and it is good for the recipient who want to avail the credit. Maybe some of the sector can be identified. I'm not saying that we should look at everything. Like GTA was one of the sector. You can recall, Amish sir, why GTA was brought under RCM, because GTA are so many individual. They are not tax compliant. So it was put on organized sector for subject to RCM. Similar on those lines, we can look at some of the sector we are finding ITC related dispute as on date. And last submission for Mr. B. Venkateswaran is like Mohit Mineral case, Honorable Supreme Court judgment that no IGST on freight component, but still a lot of litigation. But the point which I want to draw and want to have, presentation from Mr. B. Venkateswaran is, if we have paid IGST, which was not supposed to be as per the Honorable Supreme Court judgment, and incidence is not passed on, can we go for a refund claim? That is what the trade has sent me. Some of the queries, I really beg pardon to all the participants for my voice is breaking in between because of internet connectivity. But nevertheless, I made my point. If time permits, at the end of the webinar, again, I will touch base those pointers for a little more clarity and clarification. But thanking DGTS, Delhi zone and Calcutta zone, and especially my thanks to Amit sir and Bebek ji for allowing me today to make my initial remarks from FICCI and ASSOCHAM. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sri Bimal Jain ji, for your opinion, views, and sharing hands-on experience. Now, for presentation, I would like to introduce Sri Venkateswaran, who brings with him 35 years of service experience in Central Revenue Department while holding various positions at various places and retired as Assistant Commissioner, Group A Officer of Indian Revenue Service in January 2018. Welcome, Sri Venkateswaran, for presentation. You are not audible. Unmute yourself. Venkateswaran ji, please unmute yourself.
Yes, yes, sir. Now it is okay, sir?
Now it's okay.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Shall I start my session now?
Yes, yes.
Please kindly provide me the sharing permission, sir. I am sharing my screen.
I am telling. 1 second.
Hello.
Yes, I have told them. What? The sharing icon is not coming with you, Venkateswaran ji.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was searching for my Windows. It is not coming here.
But it is.
Sharing is not coming.
Venkateswaran, it is there just next to stop video. Next to
After stop video, it is there.
Next to
Yes,
stop
sir. I
video.
will just. No, your co-host is it is told. Now it is told. Okay, sir. Sharing. Now it is okay, sir.
Yes, it is coming.
Yes, sir.
Shared.
Thank you very much, sir. So good afternoon to respected ADG Taxpayer Services Delhi and Kolkata and officers of the Delhi and Kolkata DTPS and Mr. Vimal ji, the distinguished speaker for this session, and also warm welcome to all the recipient. There is a participant for this today's seminar, the webinar. I'm really happy and privileged to give one more webinar for and on behalf of Directorate of Taxpayer Services, DGTS Delhi unit and Kolkata zone. So very happy. Definitely this subject is an interesting very subject, and a lot of audit objection has been raised by the department on account of the misunderstanding or not proper understanding of the mechanism on GST. So actually, as said earlier, this reverse charge mechanism is not new. Actually, it was earlier also worked in the case of service tax, and it underwent for many litigations, and finally it was settled during 2005. Earlier it was 1997. The government imposed this particular RCM on services like GT and consumer agents, and subsequently it went for so many litigation. And afterwards, 2005, it was settled. So 2005 onwards, the Indian Transport Corporation, that is a transport organization, that is agreed that they can implement this reverse charge mechanism instead of paying by the transport operators, by the recipient based on the categories, either it's a manufacturer or something else. So it was settled during 2005 with reference to service tax. After that, very many services are introduced in the RCM mechanism to widen the tax base and also to curtail the tax evasion measures. And this particularly is also the services. This also work in the case VAT registration, where the purchase tax we can consider as RCM also. So instead of purchaser, the seller is actually paying, the purchaser is paying the taxes. So similar to that, also we are embraced in GST scenario also. So in GST scenario, as per VAT and as per the service tax regime, the RCM mechanism is introduced under charging section. So today's session, we are going to see what is the charging section and what are the goods and services comes under the reverse charging mechanism. What are the compliances required with reference to our reverse charge mechanism? That is, you can say what is who is the recipient, who is the, how he has to pay the taxes, then how he has to avail the ITC credit, how he has to discharge, how he has to file all these things. These are the tax compliances required with reference to RCM. As said earlier, so we want to like to give a disclaimer that this presentation is only for the education purpose. I have given umpteen numbers of legal provisions available with reference to implementation of this RCM. With reference to goods and services, it may be a legal requirement, statutory requirements, and also notification issued imposing the taxes. And third, the circulars issued by the department for the clarifying the position of the particular notifications. So I request the audiences and participants to refer these legal provisions and again notification and circular for any legal purposes. This particular presentation is only for trigger you how to read this and how to understand. Nothing more than that, nothing less than that. Or all legal provisions, we can also develop on the particular legal provisions, act, sections, and notification and circulars. With this disclaimer, let me go ahead further to the topic. The presentation plan I have taken is a legal provisions about reverse charge mechanism. Section 2, that is the 9.3 and 9.4, and Section 5 and 4 of GST Act. A notification issued for the goods and services separately under Section 9.3 and Section 9.4. There are two sections available. I will elaborate in subsequent screens. And we want to know what is the time of supply or time, at what time I have to pay the taxable tax for the under RCM category. Then whether I'm eligible for any ITC input credit on account of this also. That also I will be telling whether you are eligible or entitlement, how you have to take the entitlement credit. And compliance requirement, the registration and other parts, I will be also dwelling upon something. And finally, we can have some recap, and the session will be open for the question and answer within the parameter of the today's session. Since the session is very big, let me take opportunity to skip some of the slides if required. Otherwise, very important slides will be taken care of during the discussion. So I have given a background. I already explained. The RCM mechanism is not new to GST. It is also working in the case of service tax from 1997, and it was after that 2005 onwards, it was well settled. After that, in the negative regime also, we are having the same provisions of RCM. And the same thing is also embraced in the GST scenario. The normal mechanism for levy of GST is make payment plus GST, that is called your normal, that is a receiver, supplier, and government. So receiver will collect the amount from the supplier, supplier will receive the amount from the and pay it to the department, that's the government. In this case, the supplier will not pay the tax, but recipient will be pay the tax on behalf of the supplier. Here is also not on behalf of the supplier, what are the tax liability passed on account of that particular supply of service or goods. Then instead of he paying the amount to the receiver, he will be paying the supplier, he will pay the amount direct to the government. And here he has to pay the amount only in cash, not in way of any ITC credit. So this is the normal mechanism of levy of GST, forward mechanism. Another is called a reverse charge mechanism, where the responsibility on paying taxes and following the compliances before on the heads of the receiver who is receiving specified goods and services as notified under Section 4 and Action Section 9.3. So here we want to know some of the statutory definitions or provisions for the reverse charge mechanism. Only Section 2 that defines about the reverse charge, there is only one. Then Section 9 is a charging section for GST. So charging section for GST, apart from Section 7, which says about what is supply and everything, the charging section for this is a 9.3. So Section 9. The 9.1, we can say it is a charging mechanism for with reference to the forward mechanism. And 9.3, 9.4 are the reverse charge mechanism with reference to, we can say distinguished tax liability or the taxable event on account of that. See, 9.3 is different, 9.4 is different. 9.3 is a specified goods and services received. There 9.4 it is nothing but reverse charge on supply from the unregistered person. Now we are having a exemption from 9.4. That is section has been amended with effect from February 2019 onwards. Then section 5.3 and 5.4 similar to your section 9 and 9.4 for the this thing payment of the IGST on account of the interstate or import of services. So this is also required. So we are having one is section 2, then section 9, and we can say section 5 of IGX. These are the charging sections, how you have to charge, why it is a charge. This is the legal provisions, or we can say the authority under which this RCM is charged on the supplier. So reverse charge has been defined under section 290, section 298. It says the liability to pay tax by the recipient of supply of the goods or service instead of the supplier of goods or service under the subsection 3 or subsection 4 of section 9 or under section 3 or 4 of the section 5 of the IGST Act, which means this, as I told earlier, the charging mechanism for the levy of GST or IGST on account of the supplier is made under these sections 9 and section 5 of the IGST Act. So let us see the definition of 9.3. It says section 9.3 says IGST Act reads as the government may, on the recommendation of the council, specify categories of supply or goods or services both to which tax is paid on reverse charge basis by a recipient of such goods or service both. So all the provisions of the section will be applied to the recipient, which means here it says as per the recommendation of the council, the government has to notify under section 9.3. These are the services and these are the goods under which a person is liable to pay service. That is your RCM. It does not say whether the person is a registered person or unregistered person. So whether you receive it from the registered person or unregistered person, if the same is specified under section 9.3 as a goods which are liable for RCM or services are liable for RCM, the person who is receiving the goods has to be subject to other condition, has to pay the tax, discharge the tax under the RCM category, RCM basis. And section 9.4 with effect from 2019, earlier it was different. Afterwards I modified because now we are in the 2023 and 97 we are given an exemption for this type of this. That's why I cannot take in the earlier definition. Anyway, the earlier definition will come when I am dealing with the unregistered person. Here this 9.4 after 1.2 reads as the specified class of registered person who shall. So you can find the distinction. A specified class of registered person. It does not say any goods and services. It is on the registered person. They have to specify these specified persons when procuring the goods from an unregistered person. They will be liable to pay. So this is the difference between section 3 and section 9.3 and section 9.4. That the goods and services are specified. Whether you receive it under RCM, under registered persons or unregistered person, you are liable to pay because there is a specified services and goods. Here, a class of registered person who should be specified. So here, there is a distinction we have to understand between the 9.4 and 9.3. So section 5 and 4 is a similar section, which is nothing but in order to levy the IGST for interstate transaction, we are having the very same these things. 9.3 is corresponding to 5.3 is corresponding to 9.3 and 5.4 is corresponding to section 9.4. These are the IGST. The relevant provisions are taken care of in the IGST. Whenever you are receiving the goods from the persons or specified service from the interstate transaction. Interstate transaction will be aware that you will not be paying any taxes on account of, you will be paying only CGST instead of CGST, SGST, you will going to pay IGST. So when you want to levy IGST, we have to have the similar provisions also required in the IGST Act. So the similar provisions are section 5.3 and the section 5 for IGST Act for the levy of RCM charges. So section 9, broadly we can understand GST liability forward charges, it comes under section 9.1. And in reverse charges, it comes under section 9.3 and the section 5.3 of the IGST Act. Then it is a specified goods and specified services. And in the case of 9.4, reverse charge mechanism comes under supply received from a unregistered person by a specified class of registered person. This is the pictorial representation of, we can call as a GST on FCM and RCM under sections, different sections 9.1, 9.3 and 9.4. Then there are important notification which you are, when you say legal provision, first you will be understanding the legal provision as per the sections. And now we want to know what is the notification. So I have given a bold letter some of the notification. These are called parent notifications. So anything you can find, these notifications are periodically amended to include or exclude certain services or specified buyers from the levy of RCM. So with reference to goods, we are having a 4 of 2017, dated 28/6/2017. It is amended periodically based on the accommodation of the council and based on the taxation policy of in general. And also as per the requirement, right now we can also heard that Mr. Bimalji has told that why not bring under the metal scrap under the RCM. So by and large, we in order to avoid the taxation or multiplicity on account of the registration and bringing so many unorganized sector into the tax fold, this is possible. So that's why we are having that particular notification is a 4 of 2017 notification, which is used for the purpose of RCM levy. You can read only one notification, that is more than sufficient. Today's session is we are having a very few notifications, but it is a very important subject. And this 13 of 2017 notification, central rate, please kindly note that there is a corresponding notification issued by the state and union territories also. That the similar notification issued by the state and union territory authorities. The 13 of 2017 levies the RCM under the specified services. Specified services which are coming under the RCM basis is notified under notification number 13 of 2017. The slides come, you can see what is which are the notification issued over a period of time for the past 6 years. How many notifications, what are the notification made? And with reference to 9/4, we are having only one notification, 8 of 2017 notification, and that is also recently amended from to bring the real estate sector for the purchase of certain materials from unregistered persons. So these are some notifications available with reference to RCM. Then we are having some important circulars also. Definitely, as our Bimal sir said, there are the industry experts, there is so many clarifications required for the interpretation of law and what is the purpose for this particular notification issue. In order to give the uniformity for the assessment, understanding of the legal provisions and the notifications and implementation, GST, that is our CBIC, is issuing periodically circulars on RCM. I have taken few. If I have omitted, please kindly forgive, because there are so many circulars came in between. They are not specifically mentioned. Some of the clarification, particularly RCM circular, whenever they are clarifying certain circulars on account of services, it is also inbuilt. So there are so many circulars has been issued on account of the different services. If I omit, please kindly forgive me, and I will add in the future slides, in the future sessions. So as far as my knowledge goes, I have taken some notifications, some circulars. This 177 of 2019, where the corporate recipient like to pay GST on renting of immovable property. And there was a confusion that happened from 1/10/2019. But immediately government understood there is some sort of confusion on account of the RCM on the rent-a-cab operators. So immediately they modified with the effect from 31/12. Accordingly, they also issued one more circular, this circular clarification, 130 of 2019 circular dated 31/12/2019. And another circular 140 is given for the respect of levy of GST on directors' remuneration. This was one of the contagious issue, whether I am liable to pay, what is the amount I will to pay on account of RCM payable to the directors' remuneration. That was debatable. Many audit objections are raised, and the industry feels this is not taxable, and that this particular item is taxable. So in order to give a uniformity, the board has given a clarification, which comes under the RCM, which does not come under the RCM. That you will see in the later slides. And circular number 201, recently they given, that is called renting of immovable property for the company body. That is also one more this thing. There also some clarification has been given. There are some more clarification may be available. I am not immediately able to gather that because of the time short on the other. So RCM on specified goods. So let us understand this comes under the section 9(3). That because specified goods and specified services are coming under the RCM. Here, not many goods we have to see. It is mostly the goods procured from the agriculturalist. For commercial commodities or commercial crops which have been purchased from the agriculturalist, the levy is shifted to the registered person instead of the agriculturalist in order to avoid the burden of the tax compliances. So we are having a very few commodities. Only one particularly interesting is the seized goods, disposal of seized goods by the government, that the recipient is liable to pay the RCM. So here, this is the timeline for the issuance of the notice. One notification is issued 28, that is at 2017 June. Then it is followed by amendment in October 2017. Then November 2017, we had some more modification. Then 2018, a notification is there. Then September 2021, and finally we are having a 30 of 2022. Certain goods are comes under this thing. So these are the notifications which you are don't miss to under these things. Kindly note all these notifications. We will be circulating this PowerPoint when the session is over. So these 6 notifications are very much important for if you are liable to pay any RCM on account of that we are also going to explain there also. So here it is, the first is called the cashew nuts not shelled peel. If it is purchased from the agriculturalist, any registered person is liable to pay the tax. And comes the BD wrapper leaves, we call it as a tandoor leaves. It is mostly in Rajasthan area and Madhya Pradesh area, where it is a BD wrappers or procured from the agriculturalist. It shall be paid by the registered person. Then tobacco, earlier you know very well tobacco, we are having a tobacco regime. It is the biggest issue in Indian taxation. Now that is totally taken away. Now the tobacco, whenever you are purchasing a tobacco, then the liable person is a registered person is liable to pay the tax on the tobacco purchased. Then there are silk yarn, then raw cotton. So mostly we will be dealing with the raw cotton very regularly. Here it is agriculturalist, it is procured, procured by mostly by the marketing committee or a person who is having a ginning mill, that is these purchaser. So that particular person will be liable to pay service, that is a tax on account of the purchase of raw cotton procured from the agriculturalist. Then supply of lottery, there is not very much, very few persons are involved. And any chapter, I said used seized vehicles and confiscated by various government departments for the violation they deducted, and subsequently it will be sold in the auction. Then the person who is getting any registered person who purchases a particular commodity or goods, he is liable to pay the rate on the at which the goods have been purchased. Then here it is a priority sector lending. All these things are very specific for certain industries. And finally, we are having a essential oil. This came under 22. So this was the last item introduced. This is also one of the goods which covers under the RCM. Other than this, absolutely there is not much. The main commodity we can understand in this notification is what is called your tandoor leaves and the tobacco, and also cashew nut is a cash car, these things. And others, there was not much. And again, something we can say 9.4 is attracts only real estate setup, that we are having a separate slide. That is a condition for certain people, not for everybody. That is exclusively for the class of person. He is nothing but the real estate sectors. And reverse charge on specified services. So there are specified services we are having with this exclusively with reference to services. And also we said there is a tax liability on the import of service and import of goods. Import of goods is handled by customs and it is inbuilt in the Customs Act. In the case of import of services, there are specifically we are having the how it has to be dealt by the additional by notifications under section 53 with reference 10 of 2017 is the notification which says about the import of the services, how the tax liability. In other words, 13 of 2017 reduce some other notification will be taking care of for the internal domestic RCM, and we can say the 10 of 2017 notification which is governs for the other than this the import and everything. So this is a timeline for the specified services notified under or amending notification number 4 of 2007, which is starting from June 2017 onwards. Definitely this has undergone every now and then there is a request from the trade and these things. So accordingly, taxation policy they have underwent. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, around 10 notification has been amended so long. So all these, that's why there is a absolutely many times there is a requirement and there is a totally misunderstanding or not able to properly follow this notification. You are landing with the end up with paying taxes, penalty and interest. So please hereinafter avoid. Now the DGTS is regularly conducting a training session or webinar on account of the completion of the council meeting, wherein they are elaborately discussing the notification issue, CBIC circular issue. So my request for the participants, please follow the webinar conducted by the DGTS, that is our Director of Taxpayer Services, on account of the completion of the your council meeting. That will be very much useful for you also. So here it is these are the reverse of the notifications, which is amended umpteen times to bring in various commodities. So now we can see which are the services coming under the RCM over a period of time. So here we can services by goods transport agency. It was one of the oldest service, and you know very well this service is applicable for the specified person based on the mentioned in the particular notification. That is, by and large, you will see afterwards. Then service provided by the individual advocate. So here also, here legal service also, earlier from the service tax period, we got this service, and this also carry forward in the GST regime. Supplied by the arbitral tribunal, that is also a business entity. Any business entity, it goes for the tribunal purpose for the settlement of your disputes. That a tribunal is formed for settling the business entities. So the business entity has to pay the tax on reverse charge mechanism from the tribunal which has been constituted based on a request after 1/7/2017. Earlier also there was a levy on service tax. Then service tax by sponsorship services, it is a very old services carried over. Then services supplied by the central government and state government, we can say here one modification has been recently introduced in this. Forward charges RCM on account of railways has been taken. That is under serial number. You can see services of Department of Post by this thing. They have now included this excluded from the RCM, similar to the postal department, which is now liable to pay FCM. Railways also going to pay the tax on the FCM. Thereby, the railways cost of collection will be reduced because they will be going to use very many input credit available for the services they are going to provide. So that's it. The next service we can say service with director of the company. We know it is actually a contagious. So even before a service tax regime, we are having very many issues on account of this. And now also we are having the same thing. But now an elaborate clarification has been given, which is almost settled the issues on account of this particular supply by the director of company. Then supply of insurance, this is also very old. Then service supply recovery agent, this is also earlier, and this is also applicable to certain company. Service by author of music, that is also there. And by the overseeing committee for the RBA, it is a specified person, not for everybody. Then central government and local, that is a renting of immovable properties. Here it is also comes. Earlier, that is actually does not come under serial number 5. So they corrected from the serial number 5 to here. Any renting of immovable property, a person registered under this, the liability starts from 25/1/2018. And services by this direct selling agent, that is not very much. Then it is a business. It comes from 1/1/2019 business facilitator for the banking. It is mostly I have seen in the non-banking finance or micro banking finance. They are using the facilities of the banking companies. So that is I have seen in Andhra Pradesh. There we are having this particular service. And here this service by the business agent, that is also mostly for the micro finance it is used. Then the important service is security service. So this come from 1/1/2009. Unfortunately, many people do not understand what is this particular service. It is procured from a proprietary concern or by a partnership concern by a registered company. The registered company is liable to pay the service tax, that is GST, from 1st January 2019 onwards. I find recently there are so many audit objections has been raised without they are aware of this particular RCM imposition. Then services by any way of transfer of development, it is comes actually the development, this real estate sector, that is sectors only. The long-term leasing of land, that is also called either both by the SIPCards or some government agencies also giving this particular developments. There it comes under the RCM. Then supplier service authority by transfer of permitting, that is also copyright. Then service of motor vehicle, this is a new one that is called your, we can say renting of cabs used for the body corporate. Then security service of lending scheme, that is also different. Then services by way of renting of the residential. Actually earlier dwelling is not comes under here, though it is a residential dwelling to a registered person. This is also I was told it is a very many clarification is required also by many people. They are asking. The audit objections are raised. I think the GST Council will take care of this. Some issues are there that they will be settling shortly. And these are the important, these are the list of services which are governed under the RCM category. Up to 18/7/2022, I don't find any other services included afterwards. So the last service which was included is residential dwelling to a registered person by a unregistered person to a registered person who is none other than the corporate body. So this corporate body, whenever they are getting a renting accommodation for their employees then the liability befall on the head of the body corporate. So this is the last RCM categories. So let us see some of the experiments that I also explained some of the important service. I'm explaining the legal features required, what is the levy, how it is going to happen. So RCM on Goods Transport Agency, you know very well, it is a 5% without ITC in such cases, and specific recipient are liable to discharge RCM. This is most of the case, it comes as a 5%. If the RCM category under registered person does not register, then you receive this, then you have to pay liability 5%. Suppose if the person does not want to 12%, he is going for a forward mechanism, it is a forward. If the GTA wants to pay the tax under 12%, please understand you are not liable to pay under RCM. If you are liable to pay RCM only on one condition, if the person foregoes FCM on account of 12% or 5%, because there are the conditions also given. There are sometimes they find this a difficulty. The Goods Transport Agency also collecting and RCM also liable to pay. For that, the government has come to the solution. They say in GTF category, they have given a forward charge as well as the RCM charges. If the GTA company wants to utilize the forward charges, they can pay 5% on account of this without availing any ITC. Then the GTA companies also, GTS also pay 12% after availing input tax credit. In that scenario, they have to give a declaration on or before 31st March for the availment for the next finance year. Now there is extended for last year. If they given any account, then you pay the FCM, don't pay the RCM. If nothing is mentioned, you can also please ensure as a tax person, you are liable to pay a recipient. You please understand, this is very important. Otherwise, you are also paying with RCM, and the RCM that is the recipient of that is supplier also paying RCM. So please ask them to indicate whether he is applied for the forward mechanism. If he has applied for the forward mechanism, get that document, and you need not pay the RCM on account of this GSTA categories. So this is the reason. Now the government has also they have modified, a new notification has been issued. Thereby there is a FCM on this has been inculcated for the GTA from 2023-24, and the GTA need to give the declaration to that effect on or March 2023, and subsequently it was extended up to May 2023. So this year the RCM, this GTA, now you have to, what you have to understand is, in the case of GTA, there is RCM possible. The RCM possible is he should not neither charge you 12% nor 5%. If he is not declaring that I am not going to charge FCM, then you have to pay the RCM charges. And the rate of tax for your RCM is 5%. That's all. If the other person pays RCM, if he FCM, you need not worry for the RCM. If the 12%, it is a very straight, you know very well, he is a paid 12%, it is a FCM. But only a confusion comes where he pays 5%, he does not indicate it is RCM or FCM. Then you have to please get clarification from the particular supplier whether he has opted for RCM or he has opted for the FCM. If he says I opted for FCM, get a copy of that circular, keep it in your file, then thereafter you need not pay any RCM at all. Please understand, this is a very important issue with effect from 23-24. So here nature of supply, we can already mention. Then the SSC code is, you can say 996791. The rate of tax for the RCM payment is 5%. Okay. Then here recipient of service, I told it is a registered person. There are categorically mentioned who are the recipient for this particular services. Any factory registered, any society, any cooperative, any person registered under the GST or LGST, any body corporate, any partnership. Other things are same, which are earlier available service notification. Here only one thing. Earlier centralized registration, here they mentioned as a person registered under the CGST Act. That is the only thing. Otherwise, it goes to say as an earlier period also. Here, what is a word of caution is what happened. Earlier, very many traders who also received the service of GTA, but they are not paid service tax because the service tax report does not have the some of the data. Now, each and every trader is also comes under the scanner of CGST. So now what I find in many of these things, these traders, when they are procuring the goods or supplying the payment of the GTA, they are liable to pay and they have forgot to make payments. So here, if you are a manufacturer, if you are other than manufacturer and trader, if you are not aware of GTA, please understand the GTA position. if you are a registered tailor with GST purpose, for all your procurement on account of the GTA, that is a goods transport agency, there is a definition is also there. Then please, there you have to understand which are the factors. What is a goods transport agency? What is the hiring of vehicle? The hiring of vehicle is different. Goods transport agency is different. Then supply, that is a received through courier. Many times you may be receiving all these goods through courier mode also. There also you have to understand whether if the courier is already paid, there is a no necessity. But unfortunately, we find in many of the cases, all these expenses are comes under the transport charges. So my request for the participant, please clearly mention 3 types of transportation, mode of transportation: hired vehicle separately, GTA separately, and also courier mode, so that you will be avoid whenever there is a liabilities. The government does not expect you to pay more other than what is required as per the legal provision. If you are wrongly paying, either you will be availing credit and you may not foregoing, and without availing, you will be losing your taxation, that is your hard-earned income. So what we can do is, please understand, the GTS service, there is a clear definition who is a GTA. He has to issue consumer notice. Note. So then you can create a 3 ledgers in your books of account, so that you can also at the time of verification by the officers. Then please note that after 2022, the liability on account of the exemption of the 750 rupees has gone. Now, whatever the amount you paid to the consent, that is a GTA, you are liable to pay. So forget about the exemption available earlier. Now there is no exemption available. So all your transport charges will come under the category of GTA. If it is GTA, then you are liable. That's why the request for the forum is create 3 ledgers, whichever goods received through courier, whichever goods are using the hired motor vehicles, there you are paying 18%. That is different. And GTA who is issuing a consignment notes. Then service by advocates. So this is also one of these things. Here they say the advocate should be having a qualification as an advocate. It does not mean any professional is liable to pay the taxes. When you are engaging the service of the senior advocate or advocate, then you are liable to pay. Which means for that, the person should have been a qualified person to represent before this thing as a legal person. That is, this is the, then here to any person entity located in the taxable territory, the supplier any individual, and the recipient is any business entity. So your non-business entity will not come. Here it is only a business entity will be coming. The legal service means any service with relation to advice, consultancy, or assistance in any branch of law, in any manner and refer service by any court or tribunal or authority. So here you have to understand this legal service. They mentioned what is this. This is also advocate also. Then services by the director of the company. Here the nature of supply of service is service supplied by the director, and the recipient is a body corporate. So if the service of the director of the company or a body corporate, and the recipient is your company, then the company is liable to pay RCM basis and rate and everything. Here there are given the clarification with reference. As per the law, service for an employee to the employer in accordance with the employment agreements are neither considered supply of goods. This is one important factor you have to consider while understanding the RCM on the directors. Second, if the services are not classified as employer, then GST level on such remuneration, in that case, it will come under the category of RCM under 13 of 2017. For this, the government has given a clarification. The criteria to be satisfied are to be called as an employee. If the contract clearly says he is an employee of the relation, employer-employee relation, then he is deemed to the employee 1. That means we have to study the contract for the service of the director. Second, under which category the TDS is deducted, whether it is a 192 or something extra. Here 192 as per income tax on account of salary paid is considered as a RCM. That means TDS for the employees has to be deducted under 192. So if he is actually contractual obligations under requirements, he is an employee, the company invariably deduct his income as under section 192 of the IT Act, and the books of account, this has been mentioned under the head of salaries. If either of the criteria is fulfilled, then GST is not charged on the remuneration paid to the company executive, whole-time director or managing director. Here the criteria is 1, there should be a contract, and second, the TDS should have been paid under Act 192. If these 2 criteria are met with, then you are coming no under RCM. Otherwise, So circumstances where the director is not classified as an employee, if the contractor says he is not a designated as a director, but he is not an employee. He is a professional service as a director. In that scenario, second criteria, TDS is directed under 194J. So there, for the professionals, there is a TDS provision under Income Tax Act that is comes under 194J. If any of your director is qualified as a director, is a person is qualified as a director, and his remunerations are deducted under TDS under 194J, no other option, you are liable to pay RCM. And many times in the sessions I have been asked, sir, instead of 194, 192, we paid under 194J, whether I have the liable to pay RCM. I am very sorry, my dear friends. If you are able to modify your income tax return, and if the income tax accepts it is a modification, it is a salary, then it is possible. Otherwise, absolutely it is not possible. So here it is very clear. I said your error committed in income tax in no way is going to help you in the GST. So this is my humble request or humble opinion on account of the, because many times in the session they are asking me, sir, I have wrongly paid income tax. So wrongly paid income tax cannot saturate your GST, please understand. So if these two conditions are fulfilled, then you are liable to pay tax at 18% on reverse charge basis. This is very, I hope I made it clear, very clear for the RCM on the service of the director of the company, because it is very contagious. Very many audit objections are raised on account of this. And there also you have read all these informations with your Companies Act also in very many times, because how many directors are permitted as employees is defined in the Companies Act and the other acts, not in the GST. So whenever the GST want to verify whether it is an employee or not, they may also look into the Companies Act also. So you have to take care of the Companies Act. What is permitted in the Companies Act? How many persons are liable for an employee and how many are not liable as an employee? This also you have to take care while deciding your RCM, or you are objecting the RCM when assessment is done by the departmental officers. Then RCM of the services received. So here we said that if the service is received from the government, the person is allocated in this thing, then it is a registered person. The registered person is liable to pay government. That is the exceptions. We can say it is a postal services. Some of the services provided in the postal department, now they also brought under the here, which are the services, that is the railways. Some of the services is that in the RCM has been brought under the FCM. So these are the government. Here also the government services, there are some doubts. So here these doubts are already clarified by the board. Again and again we are having a confusion. They say regulatory bodies. So we are having the board, pollution control board, and some other boards are there where you are going to pay some levy on account of that. There they say if that amount is paid, then there is a no RCM. The statutory body is expected to. There is a non-statutory body or the regulatory bodies are expected to get a registration and they have to pay the tax. So here we find pollutions are, I may have to pay the pollution control. Pollution control board is a regulatory authority, then they will be paid. And here there are something also. They say it's a statutory levy only exempted from as per the notification number 12 of 2017. If it is not a statutory levy by the government department, for example, DGTP, DGFT, so Directorate of Foreign Trade, they are giving umpteen numbers of the permissions, advance authorization. For that advance authorization, you are expected to pay a certain amount, a fee for the processing of your advance authorization. So it is not a statutory. Here it is a different. There you are expected to pay RCM. But there is a confusion we are saying. They are saying if it is a statutory, you have to decide whether it is a statutory required. Factories Act, it may be statutory. Fire and safety may be statutory. And DGFT, these things may not be statutory, but it is required for some time. So there we have to check with the particular body whether it is statutory or non-statutory connections. If it is a non-statutory collected by the government, then you are RCM payable. And similarly, if it is a regulatory authority, you can very well say to the audit or other thing, you can, no, I am not liable for RCM, sir. It is a liability of cost on the regulatory bodies. So this is the all about this, because government, we are having a very many forms of government, central government, state government, local bodies, and we are having government authorities and here also regulatory bodies. So please distinguish where you are going to pay, which service you are receiving from the which government. Then postal and also railway also you can decide. Another thing I can say, escort duty. Sometimes you need police permission for the escort duty. So Director General of Police will be deploy certain personnel for as a security for as required by the. There is one of the services provided by them. There, what happens? Who is liable to pay? Here, a person is seeking the government agency, but it is not a statutory. Then he has to pay them. Bandobast required for the factory. That definitely comes under the category of the RCM. So this is how we have to understand the RCM on account of the government. Then I said FCM on Indian Railways. Now it is with from 13 of 2023. They have modified two notification that your earlier notification is amended accordingly. And some of the notification in 12 of 2017 also amended in order to bring FCM on the Indian Railways. Then security. As I said, the security, it is from 1/1/2019 onwards. Unfortunately, many people has not paid. Here, your recipient, the service provided should be a other than body corporate, and you should be a body corporate. If both the conditions, your service provider is individual and your service provider is partnership consent, then you are a body corporate. Then you are liable to pay service, say RCM on the security services. Many times, these security services does not upload their RCM category. That I will come to afterwards also. There you please, word of caution, before even our Bimal sir has said something about this liability, that even though there is an RCM liability, somebody has paid FCM liability, what can you do? When the law expects the RCM has to be paid, we cannot say that FCM is correct. He can only claim the refund, and your liability defaults on your head, even though earlier in the service tax regime there was different versions by the tribunals. But legally speaking, we can say the tax liability defaults on you as per section 9(3) and 9(4). And a person, if he pays FCM charges and you have paid, means he has wrongly collected, and he can ask you to get the refund. Now we are having a registered person, that is your account, get a refund on account of that only by that person, not by you. Okay, that you have to check. This is the security services. Then rent-a-cab. There also you told the rent-a-cab also they wanted to regularize. So here rent-a-cab they have defined. If they are paying 5%, they similar to your GTS services. If he is not availing 5%, if it is a forward charge, then he has to pay. If he is not availing forward charge, then he can use it for the RCM basis by the company. So here RCM is also on the registered company. The clarification has been given: any corporate located in the taxable territory, any person other than body corporate paying central tax at the rate of 5% on renting. This is the only, and he is not in the same line of business. Without input tax credit, he has to do that. Then renting after the amendment, they also amended. I told after 3112 there is a confusion is happening. Then does not, they told is clear, other than body corporate does not issue an invoice charging 12%, and supplier and service body a body corporate. So these are the three conditions which is not available earlier. Now that was also modified from 31/12/2019. So if you charge 12%, you don't pay 5% as a RC. Then renting residential, this is also latest. There also debate went. Then if a residential premise is available by a registered or unregistered person, and that residence is occupied or rent is paid by a corporate for occupation of his employees for any other purpose, it's a residential dwelling, then it comes under the RCM. Here, the registered person renting of a residential dwelling to a registered person by any registered person, GST has to pay down RCM. That is the latest. So here, what example I can give? You can say State Bank of India providing the rent-free quarters to its employee. So here, rent is paid by the for the quarters or rent, there is distance accommodation by the State Bank of India or body corporate or whoever it may be. Then the body corporate or the other registered person, if he is a registered person, then for the rent paid on account of the company to that particular tenant, you have to pay that amount. That amount has to be paid as a RCM basis. So here If we say, then also given an example how it can be possible. So here, this is a scenario, renting of immovable property, nature of property, commercial, rented to any person, it is a forward. If it is a residential property, rented to unregistered person, FCM. And now it is exempted as per notification number 12 of 2017. If rented to a registered person, RCM by the registered person. So here, this is the, now there are lot of questions are asked by many companies. Sir, we are having a hiring the hostel for the employees or laborers, whether RCM is liable. Definitely RCM is liable. Because the company pays the rent for the residential accommodation. So here it comes nature of property, residential, rented to registered person who is none other than a registered person under the category of GST. So if you are a registered person in GST and you are procuring a premises for rental premises for use by your company employees, then definitely comes under the RCM. This is called your renting of movable property on the RCM. So import of services, you know very well. If any service is imported from abroad as per the provisions of section 13, which says place of provision of services. You have to read place of provision of services and goods as per section IGST Act. Section 10, place of provision of service, there is goods, supply of goods. 11, in the case of import or export of goods. 12, place of provision of service, supply of services in the case of services within India, where recipient and the supplier located in India. And 13, then it comes 10, 11, 12, then it comes 13 comes if it is a recipient in India, there is supplier is India, recipient in abroad, or supplier is in abroad, recipient in India, which is the place of provision. That is also there comes the definition for the import of services. So here you have to understand, based on that, that is called your import of services. And we are having one more thing is RCM under IGST. When RCM under IGST in the place of supply and everything befalls under as per the import of service as per the provision of section 13 of IGST Act, the recipient is liable to pay if he is a non-taxable person. Then here also you have OADR, that is entirely different, but here are not coming up to this particular category. That is different. So here other than OADR persons, which means there are other than OADR persons, then taxable person who will be liable to pay the taxes. Then service payable recipient, into this non-taxable recipient, we already told there's a OIDR. So they are supplier of the service, any person located in non-taxable territory, recipient which is in India, any service supplied by any person who is located in non-taxable territory to any person other than non-taxable recipient in India. So here this is called the import of services. Section 9.4. So these are the levy on account of RCM on 9.3, and let us move to 9.4. It is unregistered person. Then unregistered person, section 9.4, before amendment, it said in the supply received from the supplier who is not registered. Particularly the second provision, this provision is completely modified. So the department, the government earlier issued exemption notification for this supply. So from 1/4/2017 to 13/10/2017, supplies received from unregistered persons, goods and services attracted RCM. And government find it is very difficult to implement because there are umpteen numbers of rate of taxes based on goods and services. So government thought better we can exempt. So accordingly, the department has exempted this particular service for the supply of receipt of goods and services from unregistered person based on the notification issue. And finally, what they did, instead of extending, it was extended, and subsequently they brought amendment also. The amendment also there. After the amendment, they say it is a provision shall be modified. They will say it is a based on the notification issued under this notification. So earlier, the act itself implemented for the levy. Now, the act is not imposed the levy. The levy is imposed through a notification. So that is a difference you have to understand. So because of this understanding of this, now since there is a notification issue, so many people are asking. Even some people are making payment. So section 94 I have to pay. No, sir. Section 94 is amended. Earlier 94 cost a tax on account of the act, and they are given an exemption up to certain period based on the exemption notification. After some time, the act is self modified. So since act is not On account of this, then specific notification is required for the levy of RCM under section 94. You please read the body of the notification under which powers of this notification is issued. If it is issued under section 94, then you are liable. Otherwise, you are not liable. So many people are still paying, but if you paid, and I do not want to do this thing because Bimal sir told what should be the position. Definitely it is a legal position. You will be losing the money and you have to go for a long battle for the legal battle. Absolutely, the government has no, because of this GST council, you have to bring it a notice of the GST council. It is debated by all the states and they have to accept, then only its modification is possible. Unlike the earlier, it can be done by central or state government. Now anything possible only through GSTC council mode only. This is my humble reply for Bimal sir when he asked what can happen, all these things. So this can be the possible as far as the government side is. Okay, government voice is if acceptable, there is a reasons. Then 9.4 after the enactment, I told earlier also I codified, there is a notification. Earlier it was directly the cost, now it says by way of a notification specifying a class of buyer generally. So now you understand, I think after going through this, these things, earlier is different, after 9.4 is different. 9.4 now does not directly cost a tax for the supply received from the unregistered person. Okay, that's good. Then supply by the unregistered person I explained in detail. Then real estate sector, here it is RCM, it is only one class of buyers notified under section 9.4. They say in the case of project of developer, there is a requirement of RCM provided the builder does not purchase goods within the parameters of the said notification. It is expecting him to pay 80% of the goods has to be goods and services has to be applied, purchased from the registered person. If there is a shortfall from the purchase from the unregistered person, then the shortfall has to be paid under RCM by the real estate promoter. And similarly, there are some more goods, cement. Cement, they told 100% they have to purchase from the registered person only. If they purchase cement from unregistered person, they are liable to pay 28% tax on the cement. Okay, that is very much understandable. So any real estate project, whether it is a commercial or non-commercial, their requirement of procurement is 80% from the registered person and 20% can be possible from the unregistered person. And the key material cement has to be purchased only from the registered person. And other material, if there is a shortfall, the shortfall here, not for unregistered person levy, here the subject condition is for the shortfall only RCM. The shortfall of 80%, there comes your RCM since you are procuring from an unregistered person. So the class of buyer here is a real estate promoter who has not purchased the goods up to 80% from the unregistered person. He is the class of buyer. If a person is more than 80%, he does not fall as a class of person under the section 9.4. That is the understanding of section 9.4. Then applicability that I told, this is the, otherwise this is only a repetition of these things. Then tax compliances, you know very well. The provision clearly says section 24, if you are liable to pay RCM, you are liable to take registration. So when, as per the notification, you know very well, there are parameters required for the levy. The one levy is forward mechanism means you have to supply. And here you have to find out whether RCM, whether this RCM attracts taxable service or taxable goods under 9.3, or it is a specified as per 9.4. If yes, then you are a person liable for registration. Because it is a compulsory registration. Here, unlike services and goods, there is a no exemption limit for 20 lakhs and there is a no limit for the composite levy is not available. So here you are liable to make a definitely a registration. It is a compulsory registration. Then invoicing. So earlier the department told self-invoicing, and that self-invoicing has to be uploaded in GSTR1, then they have to pay. Now, after the modification of GSTR1, 1A, then GSTR3, and now everything is modified. So instead of making a self-invoice, you can make a statement, keep a self-invoice, and pay the tax based on the challans. But when the officer visits, you have to show this working, how you paid the RCM in your GSTR3B and in GSTR4 table where you are taking credit. So here invoicing system is something like this only, but We want no time of supply of TOS. That is also told by our Vimalji when he wanted me to also explain. Here they told the RCM either 6 months from the date of supply or the date of payment for them, whichever occurs earlier. Sometimes he has not received any goods. Then you are entered in your books. Then that is the books of entry is your criteria. So here, don't say I have not received the invoices. Many people may not be giving their invoices. There you cannot be expect, but you will be definitely writing an expenses in your books of accounts, both for claiming the income tax exemptions or also for the purpose of other requirement. In this scenario, you are definitely pay the based on the ledger entries you made for the payment. Otherwise, date of payment or ledger date of entry or from 6 months from date of receipt, whichever is earlier, you have to make payment for the time of supply. Then time of supply and goods also we mentioned the same thing here, 30 days or this thing. Then services only we are very much bothered, and services we can say. So this is a broad scenario. Time of supply in the RCM in case of goods. Date of receipt of goods, 30 days from the date of issue of invoice, date of payment, whichever is earlier. In the case of services, 60 days from the date of issue of invoice or date of payment, whichever is earlier. So here this is the time of supply, which when you are liable to make the payment on account of RCM service. Then input tax credit. So here also input tax credit is a subject to a section 17.5. So if the section 17.5 permits, then you can take the credit. Otherwise, you cannot avail the ITC, that is a credit based on your RCM payments. That is also, you have to read the sections 17.5 is very much required for your ITC availment on account of RCM. There also you have to read section 16, receipt and everything conditions, and the section 17.4, 17 you have to read about the one common inputs means you have to reverse even if it is a RCM, and also 17.5 which are the blocked credit. So if even though you are liable for RCM, if it is a blocked credit, definitely you are not entitled to take the ITC. Here I was asked some of these things, renting of cab below 13 seaters, whether I am entitled, because below 13 seater is not entitled, it is a board. So it is a, if it is above 13 seater or below 13 seater, if it is required by the Companies Act and legally provided in the companies, it's as per the agreement for the this thing, then it is eligible, that is different. So you have to read section 17.5 and section 17, read with the rule 42-43 with reference to this thing for RC 42 with reference to availment of input service on the common inputs. There also you have to take care of RCM on account. So other compliances, I am really saying you are not, there is no provision to upload the GSTR1 outward supply only. It is inward supply. Earlier we had a provision, now there is not a inward supply entry is that. So you have to be definitely, it is a RCM in your outward supply. It will not come in GSTR, but in GSTR3B. In GSTR3B now, please understand, to be auto-populated. So what happens, some of the persons liable to pay RCM, a registered person, may be indicating you as a RCM. So that is going to be auto-populated in table number 3, RCM. So your RCM under table number 3 should be, or it should be more on account of auto-populated and cannot be less than that. Because somebody already told you are liable for RCM as per my records or as per my records. So that will auto-populated in GSTR3B, which means your payment under RCM towards a particular month is based on that invoice plus based on the services received. A person who has not issued invoices, but you received services and accounted in your books of. So these together can come under the RCM ITC in table number 4. The table number 4, your RTC eligibility comes, whatever RCM you paid on account of the invoices you received and plus invoices uploaded by some other person making you as a liability. So these two things are taken to care. And also here also we have to check up one more issue of that. Now there is a reporting under section under GSTR4 also modified ITC requirement. You have to be careful with how you are going to make your reporting in as per the provisions of the notification issued July 2022 modifying your GSTR3B. Now GSTR3B availment of ITC is a very complex situation, you have to report your availability, and earlier you will be availing only. Now you are also mandatorily required to declare what you are not permanently availed and what you are temporarily availed. That also you have to mention what you are permanently not availed and what you have not availed due to the in-transit or some other reason. You have declared in table number 4B1 and 4B2. 4B1 is whatever is availed permanently not availed. B2 is others which are reclaimable based on the subsequent developments made by your supplier or you. So these are the other RCM requirements. So I think all these things I have covered. So as far as coming to the final session, so recap is we are having a RCM two provisions. One is called 9.3, which is specified goods and services, and we are having a 9.4, which is comes under the specified class of recipient for the specified class of goods and services. So these are the RCM. And our basic notification for the RCM liability on account of goods is 4 of 2005 of 2017, and for services 13 of 2017. And we are having only one notification under section 9.4, that is for the builders. And RCM on account of the service imports, we are having the RCM liability, for which I have to read section 13 of IGST Act to check up whether I am liable as per the provisions of that particular section. So then we can avail ITC legal compliance. We can say it is a compulsory registration. Then I have to make payment before specified date as per the provisions of TOT, and I have to follow the provisions with reference to keeping all the records for my payment and everything. And I have to report my RCM payment to by GST or 3B. And my RCM payments can be paid only in cash, and you cannot make any payment in credit liabilities. And I am eligible for RCM as per the provisions of section, subject to the provisions of section 16 and 17. And if it is blocked credit, I am not entitled, even though I am liable to pay this. And some of the questions given by my cloud speaker, Mr. Bimal sir, they told some of these things in the if IGST paid refund eligibility. So here we know very well any tax can be collected without authority of liable for refund. But here there are subject to the refund is also, then refund is eligible. But conditions for refund is different, because many people after payment of this IGST on account of ocean freight, as per these things, they paid the taxes and availed the tax as IGST credit and they utilized. Now, assuming if you want to get a refund, the one of the preconditions for that, they have to reverse the IGST credit already availed. If they do so, and in my opinion, they are eligible for the refund. Please kindly check up that. Then the second thing is a forward charge paid. I told earlier also. See, earlier that is entirely different. Now in GST scenario, the concept everything can be correct, but unfortunately, each and everything undergo a clarification from the GST Council. Until otherwise, GST Council gives a clarity, and also the legal interpretation now by the court. The court say the legal interpretation as per the legislative competition, we cannot go for beyond the scope of that, the procedural requirement. So the government, that is the court, will not entertain any procedural requirements on account of levy. In view of that, there may not be some problem for them. If they already paid RCM, FCM, then it is entirely different scenario. But still, there is RCM liability on other person. You, in spite of paid your FCM, you are liable to pay. That will be most probably to be department stand because of the legal compliances required as per GST law and other procedural requirement and the broad category of GST. So with these viewers, let me thank all the participants and my respectful Additional Director General of Taxpayers Services and officials and distinguished members of the organization and all participants. Thank you very much, sir. Let me take some questions if available, sir.
Thank you,
close the session.
Yes. Thank you, Sri Venkatesh, for such an exhaustive and lucid presentation, and I am sure all of us have been benefited by it. Now I would invite participants for questions, if any. Please ensure that questions asked should be relevant to our today's topic, and further the questions can be asked using the chat box. Venkateswaran, there are few questions lying in the chat box.
1 second, sir. I will just go through that. So what will be the impact of RCM seen to be, but invoices not reflected till. See, I told there are RCM two categories. One category is invoices, the person who uploaded. In the case of uploaded, from the invoices, date of invoice, you are liable for RCM. In the case of you are not received the invoices within 6 months or from the date of payment or whichever date you have made in your books of entry. So this is the time of supply for the RCM. So if it is already uploaded in the September, definitely you are liable to pay in the month of the next month, that is subsequent month, October. Whenever which month is reflected, you are liable to pay that month. If it is not reflected, then you have to pay cash. Yes, sir.
Before that, also there are few questions.
A few questions. I'll move. Just moving, sir. I'll moving forward. Indian company takes a ship under time charter for foreign company and employed in foreign waters with foreign company, whether got RCM. It takes a ship under the time. So this I have to check up with the passenger vehicle and everything. It is a really challenging question. I have read it with the your section 13. So there the department has given some of these things. Recently they covered. Then they told it is a coastal vessels they covered. I couldn't find any particular things. I will take it that I will be intimating this reply after some time, sir. That is regarding the ship taken under the charter from foreign company and employed in foreign waters. They say it is a place of provision of services, not in Indian waters. It's outside the taxable territory. So there it may not be services and service recipients are both are outside. There may not be any. It will come under the schedule 3 of our GST Act. Accordingly, it may be exempted, but I have to read one more time. That is the only thing I can say for this particular reference. Then kindly that we can share PowerPoint. We can share. Yes,
we will share that PowerPoint.
Yes, sir. The impact of RCM to be, but in that also I answered that question. Advance paid for the import of services. Advance paid for the import of services. So normally, if you are declaring your books of accounts, you are expected to say they because it is advance paid. So you have to pay the amount advances. Then, if you are not, you are that there are very specific provisions available in your GSTR. It is not available in GSTR 1. It is only GSTR 3B. You have to report advances. Then there is advance also. There is a tax liability. Definitely, you are liable to pay the import services if you are declaring. If amount comes in your FIRC as import of this thing, then your liability arises based on your FIRC receipt. So you have to pay that amount when you have received the advances because that levy on account of service is receipt provided or to be provided. So definitely there is a levy on account of RCM. Whether RCM applicable for the job work services for absolutely no, sir. I told the section 9.3 and section 9.4 are different. This particular service does not come under the category of 9.3 as well as 9.4. This is very many times people are asking job worker. The job worker is maybe small scale and he is an unregistered person. So then naturally the levy comes under the section 9.4. The section 9.4 category says specified class of recipient and a specified class of service provider. Both are now notified by the government. So it is there is a no notification. It is exempted from tax as per the provision of the Act itself. In the absence of any notification, no levy is possible. So no tax liability on account of job work received from the unregistered person. What about the rent-a-cab service used for business purposes? Here there are there any agreement or you are daily taking some taxes and everything? They said if you are taking the clarification is given daily, you are taking the taxes and everything. That is not does not come out of the rent-a-cab. Rent-a-cab is entirely different. That you are renting a cab for the purpose of a company. There you are using for this, then you are liable. Otherwise, for a company operation, I'm going outside and renting a cab and going for the call tax and everything. That does not come under the RCM. Here, the company has to rent a cab for and on behalf of the services, picking and dropping of the cab operator, that is the employees. So here, if you are individually paying that amount, getting a reimbursement, that does not come under the category of RCM. I think that will be the question asked by the participant. In case of a 2-star export house, design services obtained from the foreign company and remuneration paid to them after they deducting TDS by this thing. Yes, is RCM is payable. Yes, sir. Because as per the provisions of section 13 of IGST Act, The place of provision of service with reference to immovable property. Immovable property, place of location of the services, which means in services is rendered in India, accordingly, it is not considered as export of services, it is a domestic service, and you are liable, since the buyer is there, you are liable to pay IGST on account of your state. Or otherwise, you are liable to pay on the CGST, SGST on account of your state, or IGST in the name of the state, because other territory, the person providing service other territory, he came over to your house or your premises and he is doing the design services. In design services, providing the advice is different. Coming here and executing the design service is this. You said that person is coming and paid. So design services done in India, it is nothing but a movable property. Services related to immovable property is place of provision of the supply is India. Then it is not export of services. It is here it is called as a domestic services. You have to pay the IGST. RCM is, it is a forward charge. It cannot be said as a RCM under the negative charge. It is not important. You have to service than India. Understood, sir? Litigation Center 3 of 2018, rental service provided municipalities will come under. See, it is rental services provided to the municipalities. Rental services come under the reverse charge, and all the services provided by the municipal councils will come under the reverse charge mechanism as per notification, correct? Accordingly, the notification number 5 in the service provided any mechanism, those business. See, it is business entities registered only, they told. They told this RCM for the government services categorically mentioned the registered person. If I am not registered person, still the liability is on the government service sector, not for the RCM mechanism. So you have to distinguish who is a service provider, who is a service receiver. If the service receiver is a registered person, then comes the market which may come. Otherwise, shop having the he will obtaining a centralized registration, GST registration, then he has to pay liability, but not otherwise. Interest liability starts as per the provisions of time of supply. If the time of supply is beyond the 60 days, then you have to pay liability as per the provision of section 50. The time has been given. The time limit goes beyond only your tax liability on account of interest comes. The tax liability and interest has been determined based on the time of supply. The time of supply is only the criteria for the deciding the factors which decide. If you say it is 60 days after that, then it is properly mentioned in your account, then definitely interest comes only after this. Then please acknowledge. Sir, there are so many questions. I think I will be running out of time. I will take all these things, sir. I will send reply some of these questions. I will copy all these because people are asking so many. I have to go through some. Definitely, I have to go through what we can call. I have to take everything and read some of the legal provisions. Then only it is good for the department as for me, get a clear position. Otherwise, hurriedly within 5 minutes, I cannot give some of the opinions. So some questions are definitely RCM, as said by Vimal sir, and said by the definitely requires in-depth study of each and every component. So in-depth study can be done. So some of these things I will definitely send reply to the DGTS shortly, sir. Otherwise, I have copied almost all these things. Whenever possible, I have answered. But some of the questions critically examined based on some other provisions also. Permit me to skip. I will send the reply to the DGTS.
Okay, so as promised by Venkateswaran ji, he will give the reply to these questions to us. You may leave your email IDs in the chat box and we will reply it accordingly. On the behalf of DGTS DJDU, I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to those who have directly or and indirectly contributed to this webinar on reverse charge mechanism under goods and service tax organized by our department. First of all, a sincere thanks to Sri Amish Kumar Gupta sir for his time and inputs. Sir, your encouraging words are always a motivator for all of us. We are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence. Also, thanks to Sri Bimal Jain for sharing his valuable experience, and special thanks to Sri Venkateswaran for his presentation that made us understand the topic so lucidly and in such an easy manner that we all can appreciate. In the end, I would like to thank all the participants for their support and time in making this webinar a success. Thank you so much. We will share the presentation also to all of you.